Bloodbraid Elf. He's got a lot of different things going on here. 4 Charlottes, 4 Bloodbraid, 3 Tarmogoyf, 4 Birds of Paradise, 4 Deathrite Shaman, Brainstorm, Ancestral Visions, Ponder, Punishing Fire, Abrupt Decay, Umazawa's Jite. Owen, who you'll get to, I've actually played against in a draft open in Atlanta during the Invitational. I beat him, but you can tell he can play a little bit of Magic.
Yeah,
Young up and comer.
He trapped me with a Wrath. And I was like, who's this kid? Just ruined me. He's playing Jund. We spoke at the Friday Night Magic at the gaming pit I played at, and he just said, yeah, all I want to do is Thoughtseize and to hand people all day long. He's playing Jund, a little, not quite as streamlined and as 3 and 4 of focus as Brian Winslet, who we saw earlier on camera. He's got, for example, a Singleton Jit, a Singleton Sylvan Library, but all the usual suspects. He's got Punishing Fire plus Grove of Burnwell, so drew the same conclusion that Brian did about that being a good call in the metagame. Hymns, Lilianas, Thoughtseizes, Bolts, Abrupt Decays, Bloodbraid, Confidant. I mean, all the usual suspects. So this is a matchup I feel like it's favorable for. Oh, we're actually a way different deck over here.
Yeah, we're in Ancestral Visions land over here for Jeff's deck. Jeff does have some blue.
We're in some weird land over here.
Yeah, I mean,
some birds.
Yeah, he's got some Birds of Paradise and some Deathrite Shamans to help with his mana, but you find, Ponder, Brainstorm. He also has Abrupt Decay as well, so he's got all the colors of the rainbow. He has 8 Cascade cards, so there's a good chance that he can set up his Ancestral Visions quite well. So he is in between Jund and Bug.
Right.
A little bit of both.
It does seem like a big opportunity cost once you're moving into the 5 through 8 Cascaders. Once you have Charlotte's Elf and Bloodbraid Elf.
Yeah.
Charlotte's Agent, Bloodbraid Elf. It seems like there's got to be some way to avoid putting Birds of Paradise in your deck.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't want Birds of Paradise in your deck. You want it in the opening turns, but you don't ever want to cascade into it. The only reason that you're okay cascading in a Deathrite Challenge is because it has 3 different modes.
Yeah.
So it's not just going to be an 0-1 flyer that taps for mana. So Birds of Paradise is a bit curious in this deck. The rest of the cards actually make perfect sense. Excuse me. And if he was able to, maybe slice those 3 birds out for the 4th Tarmogoyf, the 4th Ponder, and the 4th Punishing Fire, I think I would like his deck a little bit more. But again, being able to accelerate into some of these cards is certainly a big deal, and also the mana fixing it provides makes it so that you are not so reliant on your lands as we are underway between these 2 players here.
So you see Owen lead off with a Swamp. I believe Jeff is on 5 cards here, and he's going to take our first action of the match. And what's looming in Owen's hand after Jeff mulligans the 5? Naturally, Hymn to Torak.
Yeah. The Fun Police. As we're going to see a Deathrite Shaman here from Jeff.
Hymn to Torak, hard enough to beat in fair matchups when both players are operating with 7 cards. And Owen has a plethora of good 2-mana plays here. He can Punishing Fire the Deathrite Shaman, he can play Tarmogoyf, he can Hymn. I believe Tarmogoyf is the least correct of the 3, so I'm curious to see if he's going to either Punishing Fire or Hymn here again.
And as you see, Punishing Fire is a thing that it's beginning to pick up. Maybe, Atlanta has a strong legacy community, especially at the gaming pit and the other store, Super Games down here. And it makes you really wonder if, Punishing Fire is something that's super popular, because this is the 3rd deck that we've seen with Grove of the Burn Willows plus the Punishing Fire combination. Both players have it here, as we do see Owen casting a Hymn to Torak. And number 2. So what is Jeff going to lose? Bloodbraid Elf and Punishing Fire. So those are a pretty good hit for Owen.
Bloodbraid Elf, probably not the card he was expecting to get with Hymn to Torak after Jeff led with Underground Sea.
Yeah. A bit of a surprise there. You're going to see a suspended Ancestral Visions here. And, you can kind of put the pieces together on what Jeff's trying to accomplish. You see Bloodbraid, you see Visions, you see Deathrite, and you see Underground Sea. You can tell that he's 4-color now.
Yeah. And he's trying to set up just a pure grind fest.
Yep. As you do see Deathrite Shaman come across for 1, Owen does draw another Punishing Fire. See if he has the fetch land of the red source. You see Bloodstained Mire get pulled to the front here, so it looks like he does. I think we might see a Punishing Fire here, Patrick. Take care of this Deathrite Shaman and start to cut the mana off for Jeff.
Yep. It's definitely a way of limiting the impact of Ancestral Visions in this game is just choking Jeff on mana. And you wanted the board to be as empty as possible and the graveyard to be as stocked as possible when you do finally decide to cast your Tarmogoyf. Oh, he's going to just... Okay, so he's just going to go ahead and do that now.
You may just see it. What you see here is just a Tarmogoyf now, Owen just basically saying, I don't really find this Deathrite Shaman much of a threat. A little surprising there, just because, you know, he can't Abrupt Decay this now.
Right, Abrupt Decay was exactly the card I was about to mention.
And you see Jeff does have an Abrupt Decay in his hand, and he does just pass the turn back. Owen gonna serve in. Gonna remove that that Bloodstained Mire. Now you are gonna see an Abrupt Decay here. You do see Owen's hand here of multiple Punishing Fires. Going to use one of them now to take care of that Deathrite Shaman. A Verdant Catacombs, a Badlands, and a Bayou. So 3 cards left, and none really all that great. Looking for a little bit of action before this Ancestral Visions can actually catch Jeff back up in this game.
Yep. Owen needs one of his big breakers here. Feels like Bloodbraid or possibly another Hymn or a Sylvan Library. He needs some traction here.
We see the brainstorm here from Jeff. I'm going to give him a Treetop Village, a Grove of the Burn Willows, and a Mystery card. Ancestral Visions #2, also in his hand right now. No real interest in suspending that.
Yeah. I mean, and Treetop Village is even a further indicator of how much he's committed to just trying to grind his opponent down.
Yeah, being 4 colors, being able to find some cards, have some card selection and some card density in Ancestral Visions. One thing that he is not allowed to play, Jeff, is Wasteland. No copies of that in his deck.
Yeah, not surprising that there's no way to cram that in here. Someone finds a basic forest. Now actually wasteland proof if he was worried about that.
Yep. Tap, take a draw step, draw some Thoughtseize for the turn. And again, that's not really that bad of a draw, but with Ancestral Vision looming over there in the corner, this is not really going to do all that much.
Yeah, it's hard to win. It's hard to win that sort of attrition game against Ancestral. You need to have something proactive.
And you see Owen's going to take the Bloodbraid off, leaving Jeff with a Grove of the Burn Willows, and does just pass the turn back. Jeff plays that Grove. You're going to see a Charlotte Agent here, and I have a feeling we're going to hit an Ancestral Vision. And we are.
Yep. And right now, it is really hard to tell who's the player who mulliganed to 5.
Yes. Yes, it is. I'll take a draw step. Well, him to Torak. Not the worst draw.
Yeah, but he can't play this slow kind of card advantage game against these Ancestrals, you know? That draw is fine, but...
So 1... This one here, let's see what we lose. We lose the Charlotte's Agent and a Grove of the Burn Willows, and it's going to leave Jeff here with, I believe, another copy of Ancestral Visions. And now we're going to resolve another Ancestral Visions, and you see this is the card, and this is why Jerry Thompson and Todd Anderson went towards Ancestral Visions for the Bug Mirrors, is because this is the card that wins the grind.
Oh, yeah.
And you can definitely tell that right now. You know, Owen kept 7, hammed Jeff on turn 2, but Jeff suspended Ancestral Visions on turn 1, and as devastating as that ham was, Jeff's got lands now, and he's doing just fine.
Yeah. And Jeff's deck is, even more so than the conventional bug decks, even more committed to winning that kind of game. I mean, he's got 8 Cascaders, and he can play super long. He's got a bunch of man lands. I mean,
we're going to see another Shardless Agent here. Cascade, going to hit Abrupt Decay. That's the miss. If you're Owen, the first step for him would be finding probably a Grove of the Burn Willows, just so he can kind of pick off these Charlotte's Agents and start to get to work that way.
Yeah.
You know, that'd be a step in the right direction, as you're going to see Jeff play a Wooded Foothills here. But, you know, just any action card. You know, a Bloodbraid Elf, something to do anything is what he's looking for.
Yeah, he actually doesn't have a lot of... The problem is that he doesn't have a lot of cards in his deck that are worth multiple cards, and Jeff has a ton of them. The only cards that really qualify are him, which he's already played a bunch of, and have sort of lost their window to be good. Liliana, which isn't good here, and one Sylvan Library, and then the Bloodbraid Elves.
Yeah.
I guess Confidant too, if Jeff is light on removal, but we're not talking about a wide range of his draws.
And now you're going to see a Birds of Paradise as well. So let's see what Owen can find here. Grove of the Burn Willows.
All right, now we got something going.
We have a different game of Magic now. This is a way to recoup some card advantage, finally.
Yeah.
You know, can't keep up with those Ancestral Visions any other way. But with a Punishing Fire in his graveyard and a Punishing Fire in his hand, just wants to figure out how he wants to navigate these turns. And, you know, he has done a nice job of playing around Wasteland thus far by searching out basics. But again, you have to kind of assume at some point that my opponent's deck is 4 colors. He has Bird of Paradise as well. I think probably does not have Wasteland in his deck.
Yeah. Although Owen is under some amount of pressure here. I mean, he's taking some shots, and Treetop Village is not the easiest thing to kill with your, you know, Punishing Fire rebuy. So his life total is not completely safe.
Yeah, it'll take a few turns to clear all of this stuff up. As it looks like we are going to see an activation of the Treetop Village here. And we're going to send in the Knuckleheads, both the Charlotte's Agents and the Treetop Village. It will take a turn or two, but again, Punishing Fire is a card that catches you up very, very quickly, and this is going to take care of the first Charlotte's Agent here.
And he can't rebuy and recast the Punishing Fire this turn, so. Let's see.
You see a Tarmogoyf over there.
And that's awesome to have here, because it's at this point Jeff's just focused on trying to close the game out.
Yep. You'll see a Misty Rainforest get cracked here by Jeff. Yeah, Tarmogoyf is going to be much too large to get through these Punishing Fire, Grove of the Burn Willows rebuys, because, you know, he has to first start by taking down the Charlotte's Agent, then take down the Treetop Village. Yeah. You know, he has to burn his way through these sets, and again, as you mentioned, being at 7 life, his life total is not high enough to allow him to do that without a nice draw step.
Yeah. And talk about two decks trying to out-fare each other.
Yeah. So you will see Grove of the Burn Willows here tap for a red. Punishing Fire going to come back. One of them is going to have to stay in the graveyard because only 2 sources of red mana. Deathrite Shaman the draw for the turn.
And there's Deathrite. Maybe going to be on some chump blocking detail.
Yeah, I don't think that one's going to stay very long here. Abrupt Decay probably the best draw here for Owen in the next turn or two.
Yeah. So we're doing a Tarmogoyf count here?
Yep, and the only reason it is a 5/6 instead of a 4/5 is because Charlotte's Agent is in the graveyard, and it is an artifact.
Not that there would be any way to know this since it's a gold card, but it is a artifact.
Punishing Fire going to come back for Jeff here. So even has the opportunity to kind of burn Owen out slowly but surely, so attacking from a lot of different angles.
Yeah. Time to Village. Turns on the Treetop.
Playing Misty. Looks like we're going to see Punishing Fire on the Deathrite Shaman. Yeah, it makes sense. And send in the Knuckleheads.
I don't think we can kill everything.
Yep. He's going to shoot a Treetop. He's going to pay to return. He's going to shoot a Treetop.
Yep.
And if that life total is correct, it's going to take 7. I think he went up, yeah, he ended up going up to 8 from that Grove of the Burn Willow, so now he's going to go down to 1. Yep, and he draws a card and he's going to die. Okay. So, Jeff Sirkis, up a game here with his 4-color Cascade deck over Owen and his Punishing Jund deck. Patrick, I do know that you have Owen's deck list in front of you. Can he keep up with the Ancestral Visions?
Well, he does get access to 2 copies of Pyroblast in his sideboard. He also gets an additional Abrupt Decay if he wants to get, an additional Punishing Fire if he wants to get Grindier. An Abrupt Decay for extra Tarmogoyf answers, 2 Duresses, and a Singleton Choke. Choke is not as good here as it normally is, as Jeff clearly has, you know, a ton of different colors, but cutting him off with blue is significant. So. Yeah. He also has Birds and Deathrite Shamans to operate under Choke as well. So he's got some tools, but it's probably worth bringing in as a one-of.
As far as Jeff's sideboard here, 4 copies of Thoughtseize, 4 copies of Cabal Therapy, so a lot of discard, primarily for the combo decks, you can assume. But Thoughtseize isn't horrible in this matchup. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. Card that is definitely going to come in though is 2 copies of Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Yeah.
If you want to get even a little more grindy, which I think is going to happen, having access to that card is quite powerful. And then there's another copy of Umezawa's GT in the sideboard as well, to go with his 1 in his main deck. So he has plenty of cards, I think, that he can sideboard out here. Again, I'm not in love with the Birds of Paradise in his main deck. I know it does help fix his mana, but when you're boarding in cards as powerful as Jace and Umezawa's GT, I think you got to lose something. And I don't think he wants to lose anything else.
The counter argument is Bird's very good in your deck once you have Jace, because you want to get to Jace as soon as possible.
Sure.
So I'm not sure if that's the card to cut. Well, see. Yeah, I guess it's hard, right? Like everything is just cantrips or 2-for-1s or
the rest of these
mana.
cards. Yeah, the rest of these cards are nice. Deathrite Shaman, Tarmogoyf, Shardless Agent, Bloodbraid Elf, Brainstorm, Ancestral Visions, Ponder, Punishing Fire, Abrupt Decay, and then the Singleton Umezawa's Jite. I mean, those are all really, really good Magic cards.
Yeah.
And those are all cards that are good in this grindy matchup. I mean, maybe you board out Ponder because you don't need any more card manipulation outside of Brainstorm. Once you just have all these good cards in your deck, all you can do is draw nothing but good cards.
Yeah, I mean, you can only afford to have so much air in your deck, right?
Yeah.
You have to have some actual substance. So, yeah, it's hard to say. Everything looks on its surface to be good, but so do those sideboard cards. Jace especially. I mean, I'm not even sure if you necessarily want the second chip, because it feels like a lot of these games are about, if Owen's winning, you probably have 0 creatures in play.
Sure.
So I'm not sure if you want to have a bunch of chits, because it feels like they might only help you when you're already kind of ahead in the game. But certainly Jace seems awesome. No question about it, a card you would want. And Owen over here, for this being, against a lot of builds, Punishing Fire isn't necessarily at its best. But when your opponent has Deathrite Shaman and Birds of Paradise, Punishing Fire is awesome.
Yeah, definitely think it's where you want to be then.
I mean, Bloodbraid, Shardless Agent, he doesn't actually have a lot that can sustain against an opposing Punishing Fire. He actually was very fortunate to have his 1 Treetop Village that game, as that card did a lot of work. It's possible he would have gotten locked out by Punishing Fire were it not for his 1 Treetop Village.
Yeah. Treetop, looking at the initial deck list, you see it here, and it's a little bit surprising to see that card in a deck, especially for one that you can't actually find, but it ended up being a game winner.
Oh, it was insane, that game. It couldn't have even been Creeping Tar Pit, because it would have just fallen under the gun of Punishing Fire.
Yeah.
So, had to basically be exactly that card. I guess it could have been a Raging Ravine, but even then, the mana efficiency he was getting off of this Treetop Village at some points was really important too. So, sort of an oddball singleton, but in that game it was excellent.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit surprised that Owen doesn't have access to a Life from the Loam in his sideboard somewhere.
Treff the Life from the Loam Wasteland lock.
When you have Grove too, and Grove is often good against decks with Wasteland, it seems like it kind of all adds together. And 1 Loam's kind of free to play.
Yeah, it is. I suppose it is a little bit surprising. You are finding in these deck lists now, a lot of these deck lists, be it Bug or Jund, you do find 1 Life from the Loam often in those decks. Even some of the Rug decks,
right,
they have 1 Life from the Loam looming just to make sure they can hit their land drops when they are under attack from Wasteland, while also having the card to actually Wasteland lock their opponent.
And it's also, dredging is pretty sweet when you have, Loam also interacts very well with both Punishing Fire and Grove of the Burnwell.
Sure.
It finds your Grove and it puts a Punishing Fire in your graveyard. So there's a lot of angles where that card is productive, on top of just getting the Wasteland lock you, which is another thing that can come up. So I'm a little surprised to not see 1 copy of it in Owen's sideboard. The 1 Loam always in Bug, and to a lesser degree in Rug, but still there, always feels like an excellent use of sideboard space.
Yeah.
So it feels like the 1 Loam, you get like at least 1 free game win over the course of the tournament, just by having the 1 Loam there.
Yeah, the thing about the Loam too, right, is that when it's good, it's great.
Yeah.
It's not just like you draw a Loam and you're just like, ugh, this isn't that great or anything. Again, just because it is a good card doesn't mean you need to play 4 of them, but I think that 1 singleton, the situations where you are going to board it in and then you do draw it, quite the card.
Yes.
Quite the card then.
Owen appears to be looking at a hand of 5 lands, Lightning Bolt, Tarmogoyf. Mulling over this decision. Sometimes I wonder in these kind of matchups is it actually correct to draw. Maybe it's just a mistake because of Wasteland, no matter what, but it feels like you're never going to get tempoed out of the game, and the extra cards matter a lot.
Well, you know, it's certainly an interesting decision. You know, I know that one player whose name I brought a couple times this weekend, but Jerry Thompson loves to draw in these kind of matchups because they are so grindy. And again, I don't think that playing first, while it is nice, you know, does that outweigh the fact that when you do have to mulligan, it's kind of a disaster, or you know, you're going to be trading so much anyway, might as well take that extra card.
Yeah, it feels like all these cards are kind of interchangeable, and no one really gets tempoed out of the game. I mean, that last game ended on turn 9 from Treetop Village beatdowns, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're not talking about an especially fast game, and you know, hymns in the deck and Thoughtseize and all that stuff, and it feels very hard to just. It doesn't feel like you're going to go Deathrite Shaman Tarmogoyf, and the other deck's going to go, yeah, I can't beat it. No. You know what I mean? They're set up for those kind of fights.
As you do see Jeff sacrifice a Misty Rain Forest here. See what he's going to search out, and then what he's going to do. He does have Ancestral Visions in his hand right now. I'd be a little bit surprised if we didn't start there.
Yeah, and I guess maybe that's the argument to play if you're in Owen's shoes is you sort of need to have a little more tempo in the game because of Ancestral, and it also gives you an opportunity to Thoughtseize an Ancestral, which is important too.
Yeah.
But I do think that often in these kind of matchups it's correct to draw, and people are just so hardwired to always play first and constructed that it doesn't even occur to them as a thing. Certainly plenty of mono red mirror matches where I've chosen to draw first.
Yep. Extra card means a lot.
Yeah.
You do see Owen did draw an Umezawa's Jite for the turn. A little bit Deathrite Shaman standoff here. You're also going to see a Tarmogoyf over there in Owen's hand. Jeff does have an Ancestral Vision in his hand, and I'm very surprised that he didn't lead off the game by suspending that because, again, I think that is probably the most important card in the mirror match. As you're going to see a Dark Confidant here from Owen. And you just want to get that thing over there and done so that you can resolve it and just pull ahead on those cards.
It depends what he has to do with 3 mana. It's possible that if he has a good 3 mana play, or if he can go Ancestral plus something else, it's better to lead this way. Although once Owen leads with his own Deathrite Shaman, now yours just kind of doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, with Owen playing his own Deathrite Shaman on turn 1, I think you're correct that you're supposed to just suspend Ancestral.
So we're going to see a Wooded Foothills here from Jeff. He's going to go down to 18. And search out a Taiga. A little bit of Name That Nephilim.
Oh yeah.
Red, green, blue, black. Yeah, you already know which one it is.
I don't. I actually don't.
Neither do I.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
So now we're going to see an Abrupt Decay here. Take care of the Dark Confidant.
And Jeff, neither player can really activate their Deathrite Shaman in the face of the opposing Deathrite Shaman, so
we do see a Thoughtseize drawn for the turn by Owen. Looks like he's going to lead out there.
Attention players in $10 draft number 15. Your event is ready up here at the stage. Once again, players in
I don't think Forcible's in his deck, right?
No. What you're going to see is a Deathrite Shaman activation. And I'm surprised he was able to let that go.
Yeah.
Because Owen can respond with his own Deathrite Shaman to get the mana, and he needs the mana.
Yeah, it's possible he just doesn't know that interaction. I mean, he can get mana himself, but he could have also cut Jeff off of it.
Yeah, and cutting Jeff's mana here is huge. Because now there's no Brainstorm in the face of the Thoughtseize.
Alright, puts it back. And Thoughtseize resolves, showing Bloodbraid Elf, Deathrite Shaman, Ancestral, and 2 lands. And Bloodbraid's got to go.
No one wants to write those down very quickly. Make sure he doesn't forget about them, knows what cards to play around.
Now we're going to see a Deathrite Shaman activation, and known as he's just being down. Okay.
Yeah, he's got another land in his
Oh, okay, yeah, he's got another land. Sorry. Now he has to decide between Jit and Tarmogoyf. I would assume we're supposed to lead with Jit here. Or with Tarmogoyf, rather. And then Jit next turn.
Okay. Search out a Bayou here. And there's Tarmogoyf, and the turn is over.
So a lot of big plays here potentially Jeff could put together. He didn't even cast Jason this turn.
Yeah, if he's able to find one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he exposed that Bloodbraid Elf to a Thoughtseize. And with the ability to cast it, I mean, he's got to have something really good on top of his deck.
Yeah, I'd like to think he hit something relevant here. There's a Deathrite Shaman. Let's see, Deathrite Shaman. Remove a Thoughtseize.
I think we're about to see a Jit.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that as well as Lightning Bolt is drawn for the turn because, I mean, by exposing Bloodbraid there, as you said, I'm wondering what really got done there. You know, Bloodbraid's so powerful in this matchup. So Deathrite Shaman's going to remove a land to provide the second mana. Put the Umezawa Shite on the Tarmogoyf. Come crashing on in. I'm going to check how big Tarmogoyf is here. There's just a 3/4. The 2 counters are going to get placed on that.
I'm surprised by Jeff main phasing by Jeff main phasing the Deathrite Shaman on the previous turn.
Yeah. I mean, the reason he main phased it, of course, is so that Owen can't remove it in response. But we're not sure if Owen understands that interaction based off of the fetch land thing that happened earlier in the game. So,
and you got to be pretty thrilled if Owen is using a mana and his Deathrite Shaman to hit you for 2.
Yeah,
is the other consideration. Jeff laying out his graveyard. There's multiple Ancestral Visions in his hand, it appears, along with the Jit.
Yeah, again, and that begs the question, right? Like where the brainstorm happened, and now we have multiple Ancestral Visions in our hand, where we could have shuffled them away as we did play Misty Rainforest. So, I'm very curious as to what Jeff is setting up here, and what his game plan is moving forward.
Yeah.
Because again, Ancestral Visions is one of his trump cards in this particular matchup. It's how you get ahead in the Grinding Wars. It's how he won Game 1 off of his mulligan to 5. And now you didn't see him suspended on turn 1. You see him suspending it now. Umezawa taking care of the other Umezawa as soon as he's going to kill that Deathrite Shaman.
And one assumes, based on the cards that Jeff has drawn in subsequent turns, that he could have set up Bloodbraid and Ancestral on top of his deck when he brainstormed.
Without question. This Bloodstained Mire is the draw here to go along with a Lightning Bolt for Owen. Tarmogoyf going to come across now. Tarmogoyf is at 4/5 now because there's an artifact in the graveyard. Oddly enough, no sorceries. So Jeff's going to take that and move down to 10. And no real reason to pull the trigger there on the Lightning Bolt. So Visions is going to go down to 3. Jeff's going to draw a Bird of Paradise. This is kind of the fear, right, with having that card in his deck.
Yep.
Is that it really seems to be only optimal on the first turn of the game. Past that, it's going to be a bad draw in a lot of situations.
Right. And I mean, Jeff's hope is that he can kind of outcard him with Jason Ancestral, but Owen's average draw is a little bit better here.
So you see a Deathrite Shaman activation here from Owen. Going to take care of the Brainstorm. And yeah, you can see that both players aren't aware of the interaction with Deathrite Shaman. And he may not have wanted to.
Yeah, he actually might want to just gain. He actually might want to gain life with. Jeff might want to gain life with his own Deathrite Shaman.
True.
He might rather just remove that Confidant from the game. Comes with his bird.
Owen is just going to pass the turn back. So now we're going to see Misty Rainforest get sacrificed here on Owen's end step. Jeff's going to go down to 7.
And Jeff will find Tropical Island. And he's going to use the Deathrite Shaman, I think, on the opposing Confidant. And Owen's going to respond by removing an Abrupt Decay, so that's a push on the life there. And we're going to bolt the Deathrite Shaman at the end of the turn. So the life gain was pushed off by the life loss, and now Jeff can take his turn. Really needs Jace.
Yeah, Jay's Abrupt Decay would also be quite good here.
Yep.
Even one of his Cascade cards just to generate some sort of card advantage. And it doesn't look like he's found any of those. Vision's just down to 2 counters, but again, it's going to be too little too late, it looks like, for that to come off, as he does draw another Ancestral Visions for the turn. He does just pass the turn back. Tarmogoyf the draw for Owen this turn. You see Goyf coming across for 4, putting Jeff down to 3. Tarmogoyf played here by Owen. Bloodstained Mire, the last card in his hand, and he's just going to pass the turn back. Ancestral Vision's going to go down to 1, not up to 3. And a concession.
Yep. So the always rewarding, killed my opponent while Ancestral Visions was still suspended game.
You know, that just really shows, you know, the option between having Deathrite Shaman on turn 1 or suspending Ancestral Visions, and this matchup that is so grindy. Again, this game went to, what, turn 9 or turn 10?
I mean, yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah, it was another long game. You know, Ancestral Visions would have resolved for Jeff. They had suspended on turn 1, and it would have had a large impact on that game. And now the way the game ends up playing out is he's really hoping he's not going to die before Ancestral Visions, hoping not to die so he can resolve his Ancestral Visions. It doesn't happen. He ends up dying. And, you know, if he does resolve that Ancestral Visions, maybe he wins.
Yeah, and, you know, it's the best cards that Jeff has in his deck in the matchup are better than the best cards Owen has in his deck in the matchup. But Owen's medium cards are way better than Jeff's medium card. So it's really important for Jeff to be able to get his Jaces and his Ancestrals, and then to a lesser degree his Cascaders to resolve, because he's behind on average card quality.
Yep.
And yeah, I agree with you that priority 1 should have been getting that Ancestral suspended, and then, you know, the game is much easier from there. Once you draw 3, I mean, then it's easy to find your Abrupt Decays and your various other removal spells, get your Jace online, all that kind of stuff.
You know, it's also going to run you into more card manipulation as well. It's going to run you into some Ponders and some Brainstorms to be able to even go even deeper.
Yeah.
To find the cards that actually end up mattering. And Owen doesn't have the leisure of doing that in this matchup. You know, he's outside of Dark Confidant, which is likely not going to live, with Punishing Fire and Abrupt Decay around. You know, he doesn't really have any card manipulation.
Yeah. Owen can play the game basically just one way, and Jeff has a number of ways that he can try to play. He can kind of go down the beatdown route, which he was able to do successfully in the first game. He can also try to out-control the game.
Yeah.
But Owen really only has the one path that he can take. But yeah, I do feel there was some misnavigation there by Jeff on the first turn of the game, and you see it a lot in Legacy, especially with the cantrips. One poor decision often is this cascade of consequences as a result.
Mm-hmm.
You know, often the difference between playing playing a Stomping Ground versus a Sacred Foundry on the first turn, that's not that big of a deal in Standard. But the difference between how you're manipulating your early cantrips, what lands you're playing early in Legacy, I mean, those are wins and losses on the sheet. Yep. They change results.
Well, we do have both players taking a look at their opening 7 cards here. 4-color Cascade versus Punishing Jun. Jeff Sirkis will be on the play for game number 3. And we're going to see a mulligan.
Owen is also all business at the table. If you think this stare down is for effect, he did the same thing to me at FNM. Yeah. So. He means business.
Came to win.
And he was super nice. Like, we chatted afterwards, and, you know, whatever. He's a nice guy, but at the table, it is strictly business.
So we do see both players taking a mulligan to 6 here.
So now really important for Jeff to find Ancestral Vision specifically because as he mulligans, he's less inclined to be able to find the mana to actually put Jason to play.
Yeah.
Especially Deathrite Shaman and Birds of Paradise, likely to die, so.
Yep. Ancestral Visions can undo and mulligan. As few cards can. Alright, Owen's opening hand looks pretty good. A couple Punishing Fires, Bloodbraid Elf, and some lands.
Yep.
Jeff's going to keep. Owen's going to keep. We're underway for game 3 here. Misty Rain Forest to start.
Yeah, it looks like his hand is 3 lands, Abrupt Decay, Bloodbraid, and Punishing Fire. Look like
Yep.
like a very solid 6-card hand. And he has Ancestral, very important.
Hymnotorac the draw here for Owen, so an actually pretty good draw. So he's going to play Verdant Catacombs and pass the turn back. Vision's going to tick down to 3. Jeff going to take a draw step. See if Verdant Catacombs. Draw for the turn was a tie again. He is going to pass the turn back. Also looming in Jeff's hand right now is a Charlotte's Agent, so card advantage, card advantage, card advantage he does have in his deck.
Yeah, both players have their Haymaker, Jeff with Ancestral Visions and Owen with Hymnotorac.
Only going to draw a card, draws a Badlands for the turn, and is going to cast Hymnotorac. 2, 3, and 4. Alright, so these two are going to go away. Taiga and Verdant Catacombs are the ones that are going to go.
Jeff, no 3rd land drop.
Owen draws an Umezawa's Jitte for the turn. And lands is something that he does have, as you see, a Grove of the Burned Willows and a Wooded Foothills in his hand. And he's opting not to cast the Umezawa's Jitte this turn. So we're going to see a Brainstorm here from Jeff on Owen's end step.
Yeah, no reason to really let him curve into his removal because there's a good chance there that Jeff has Abrupt Decay at the ready. So no reason to let him use his mana that would otherwise go unused.
Sure.
Jeff mulling over his Brainstorm again with a fetch line in play. He actually turned this into a big loot.
And so much card advantage in Jeff's deck. Really interesting build on this take of grinding people out. I actually like it quite a bit. I'm using the Cascade mechanic basically to its fullest for these grinded out mirror matches.
Yeah.
You know, some players earlier today, we saw Brad Nelson using Charlotte's Agent to cast Hypergenesis, which is the combo way to use Cascade, but this is a way that if you're expecting these grindy mirrors, the bugs, the rugs, and the Juns of the world, I feel like Jeff's deck is, you know, kind of where you want to be. You're a little bit soft to Wasteland, but outside of that, I feel like you're doing a lot of powerful things here.
Yeah.
Visions will tick down to 1.
Draws a Punishing Fire, it looks like. And he passes the turn.
Still no lands. Owen's going to sacrifice that Wooded Foothills and search out a Taiga. So you can see in the first game, Owen was searching out basic lands. This game, searching out non-basics, realizing that I'm fairly sure my opponent in his 4-color deck does not have Wastelands. We're going to see a Bloodbraid Elf here from Owen.
Do a Bolt.
Yep. So it's going to go upstairs, and Bloodbraid's going to come across. Looks like modern, Jund.
Yeah, well, Bloodbraid's really important in these matchups too because just 4 mana cards in general are more sustainable than the other threats because it's out of Abrupt Decay range. So Jeff there had Abrupt Decay in his hand and could not cast it.
So you see Jeff resolve the Ancestral Visions, draws 3 from that, draws 1 from his turn. Going to sacrifice the Misty Rain Forest. We did see a Abrupt Decay, as Patrick said, also a Punishing Fire over there in his hand, so that Bloodbraid Elf is probably not very long for this world. But we'll see if Owen can overcome this card advantage that Ancestral Visions has provided.
I wonder if you're supposed to cut a little bit of your removal in these kind of mirror matches because things just bounce off each other, die so easily, you run out of cards in hand, etc., etc. I wonder if your cascades just need to be as powerful as possible, and that's where you get your edge from.
Sure. So you see a Charlotte's Agent, and that's going to reveal on Session Vision. So 3 more cards here for Jeff. Tropical Island, Treetop Village, and Umezawa Jite are the cards that are drawn.
I think he actually has so much in hand he has to discard.
Yeah. First world problems.
Right.
He's going to discard a Punishing Fire and a Tropical Island. And because he has Grove in his hand, that discard of the Punishing Fire not going to matter too much. And if you're Owen here, you have to keep the pressure on now. You got to get this game over as fast as you possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, looking at a full... And his hand is just removal spells. So that Punishing Fire is going to be disastrous for Owen because he's not going to have... He has nothing left over, and he's facing down Jeff's in full hand of cards.
We're going to see a Grove here. We're going to see it looks like a Bloodbraid Elf. Yep. Deathrite Shaman. Now, if you're Jeff, you're really kind of tempting fate here, right?
Yeah, I think I would have just been happy to Punishing Fire the Bloodbraid Elf. Just take your time. It's going to be really hard to win a game that takes... It's going to be really hard to lose a game that goes on for a long time, but in the short term, there can definitely be a lot of damage done.
Yeah, and now this is drastically different. Now, as you just see Umezawa Jite from Owen here, because it's going to get equipped to the Bloodbraid Elf. The Bloodbraid's going to come across. Deathrite Shaman cannot trade favorably with it, and now it's virtually going to be a 7/6.
Yeah, well, Jeff has his own Jite in hand, so he's happy to just chump block, and Owen can gain 4, and that's fine. But yeah, last turn I would not have. I do not believe I would have Bloodbraided that turn. Like, Owen's not casting creatures, so it means his hand's removal spells.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then you probably just want to remove his Bloodbraid Elf and then start deploying your threats over time.
You see Jeff casting his own Umezawa Jite here. Owen likely just going to gain 4 life. Now you're going to see a Deathrite Shaman, and he does have the Punishing Fire at the ready. Going to return the Punishing Fire, give Jeff a life. Wasteland the draw. Actually, a pretty relevant draw.
Yeah, as now he can actually break up that Grove.
Number 6, your event has fired.
So Grove will take care of that. Wasteland will come into play. We're going to take care of the Bayou. All right, Bloodbraid Elf goes down, and
so,
here comes Tarmogoyf.
Owen would rather cut him off of black and prevent him from casting Abrupt Decay.
Yep. And this looks like it may have worked.
Yeah.
So we see Treetop Village and a couple of Abrupt Decays in his hand. And I think the other card that we see there is a Shardless Agent, I believe.
Yep. But some really sharp play from Owen here.
Yep.
Yeah, he was able to fight that instinct of going after... Sure.
Third Ancestral Visions here. Crozen Grip, Bloodbraid Elf, and a Punishing Fire there from Jeff. So his Cascades have been about as good as they can be. As you do see, Owen's going to return the Punishing Fire one more time, give Jeff a life. He's going to clear that Shardless Agent out of the way.
And he's just drawn another Goyf, which is a perfect draw.
Yeah, if you're Jeff, you need black mana. You need it now. So you're going to see Abrupt Decay here. Might be saving the Punishing Fire to go upstairs.
Yeah. I mean, it gives Owen the most insurance in case Jeff rips a black spell, a black source, and is able to Abrupt Decay. Maybe do something about the other Tarmogoyf too.
So you're going to see the second Tarmogoyf here. Those Tarmogoyfs are 5/6s right now because there are artifacts and other things in the graveyard. So looks like he's facing down a lethal attack here, or very, very close to it, as Ancestral Vision is the draw here for Jeff. 3 was just not enough.
Yep. Well, 6 actually, right? Oh, 3 Ancestral. I thought you meant 3 cards.
Yeah, 3 Ancestral Visions
so 9.
in this game. Yeah, so 9. It looks like he's tapping mana for Bloodbraid Elf here.
Yep.
Almost hoping that Bloodbraid Elf can save him, because again, no black mana to cast those Abrupt Decays. Yep, so we're going to see Bloodbraid Elf. Let's see what it finds. Finds a Deathrite Shaman.
Yep, not what he needs there.
One's going to untap, he's going to draw, and we know that his cards in his hand are Thoughtseize, Punishing Fire to get rid of that Bloodbraid Elf, Abrupt Decay, but he's just going to bring back the Punishing Fire, clear this out of the way, no reason to cast the Abrupt Decay. And it's over.
Yep, and there it is.
Owen Laufersweil, with Punishing Jund, defeats Jeff Sirkis in his 4-color Cascade deck. Jeff able to resolve 3 Ancestral Visions in Game 3, but not enough. Owen used his resources correctly and ended up taking the game down.
And the colored mana situation was really bad for Jeff. I mean, I'm sure that part of the reason that he can justify the mana base the way it's constructed is because he has birds and Deathrite Shamans as color fixers. But those things can't stay in play against Punishing Jund.
Yeah.
So then